GLS Solicitors is led by award-winning solicitor Harjap Singh Bhangal. GLS Solicitors, when the experts need an expert.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਫਾਈਨਲੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਹੀ ਲਿਆ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਘੇਰ ਲਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਰਜਾਬ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਹੰਸਲੋ ਥਾਣੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਥਾਣਾ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੇਰੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆ ਇੰਸਪੈਕਟਰ ਨਾਲ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਛੋਟੇ ਅਫਸਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਾਉਣਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਵੱਡੇ ਅਫਸਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਾਉਣਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਐਂਡ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇਰੀ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਇਤ ਆਈ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਇਤ ਆਈ ਆ ਕਾਹਦੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਫ੍ਰੀਲੀ ਇਹ ਨੋ ਗੁੱਡ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਲੋਕ ਅਪਸੈਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਸੱਚੀ ਦੱਸੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਯਾਰ ਇਹ ਕਾਹਦਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਦੇਖੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੰਸਲੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਇਆ ਹਾਂ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਰੱਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਾਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਥਾਣਾ ਦਿਖਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਰਿਗਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਲਾਈਨਸ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਹੁਣ ਹਰਜਾਬ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਫਸਦਾ ਅੱਜ
Hanji, hello and welcome to a special edition of Desi Crime Watch where today I'm being arrested. No, only joking. Today I am at Hounslow Police Station with a very familiar Navdeep Verma, who you know, Inspector.
Yes, absolutely. Sasikal Sariano, Navdeep Verma.
And we have a guest, Inspector Duncan Evans, who's joined us to talk about a really important issue today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਹੈਗਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੂਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਬਟ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਇੰਸਪੈਕਟਰਸ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਟੁਡੇਜ਼ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਇਜ਼ really important because it affects our children who we have dreams for, who we have aspirations for, and in today's race of life where technology is moving at a fast pace, kids, whatever they're doing, parents probably sometimes don't have a clue what they're up to. We were born in a different era with a different set of technology, different set of mobile phones. Mobile phones, we had phones where you used to go, and if you got the number wrong, you had to put it down and dial the whole thing again. So there's a manage horsey gal. Then the new now you can no letters, you can just message on things like WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And in fact, most people get their information from these sources as opposed to news channels and newspapers, which have now become obsolete. However, with technology and its uses comes its ills and its dangers. So jidda technology vaddi andi oda fayda ta hunda hai par ode naal khatre bhi hunde a. And the dangers are that now criminals excessively use these fields and in fact ensnare children into the criminal activities, and that's today what we're going to talk about with our two guests up in the ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਹਿਫੂਜ਼ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. So the essence of today's show is how to protect your kids essentially, and how to keep them safe and how to keep an eye on them, make sure that if they are caught up in any trouble then how to get out of it, and that's what we'll be talking about. So, gentlemen, we often hear, well, over the past year, we've been hearing stuff about county lines.
Hanji.
Now, when I heard the phrase county lines, I just thought they were bordering lines that divide like Essex and East London, or, you know, it divides Berkshire and Heathrow. That's the line. I thought that's what I meant. But when I actually got to find out what it was, county lines, and it's a whole different thing. It involves drugs and smuggling and gangs. So please just expand on what county lines is for everyone at home.
Definitely, Baji. With what you said is absolutely true, but the keystone there really is the involvement of young people and children. That's the key ingredient there. Now, Duncan obviously works in the National County Lines Coordination Centre. Just to defer to you to go into more detail.
Yeah, of course. So we look at county lines as the organised drug dealing. So in that organised drug dealing, distance is irrelevant. So a child could be taken 1 mile, or it could be 100 miles. And it's the associated exploitation and violence in that drug dealing from A to B that's called that county lines methodology.
How do these gangs and drug dealers get in contact with our kids? Before, it used to hang around outside school during our time, and they'd probably come to approach kids from school, and you'd see the group of naughty kids, essentially called naughty kids, and they'd be the ones involved in cigarettes and drugs and stuff like that, level up. How do they contact kids nowadays? I mean, our kids are pretty secure. Schools are secure places. And, how would somebody actually make the first step into that, and how are kids vulnerable?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because Nav and I were speaking about it, and instead of the old days, as we call it, which is not that long ago, where you would walk along and walk home and someone would approach you, now with the use of technology, which can be a really good thing or can be a really negative thing depending on how it's used, young people are being targeted even sitting in their own home, and that could be via their mobile phones, it could be their PlayStations, their gaming consoles, and things like that. So social media has played a big part in the communication for young people, but also allowing others to infiltrate that. And we give the example of Snapchat, and there are many other social media providers, but a child who then can see their friends' other friends, and the communication on Snap Maps, where you can find out with your location services where they are, has made it more of instead of being out and about and visually trying to recruit somebody, it could be very subtle, befriending them online. So that's a really key point to take from this, of that parents and carers to understand that although social media is a really good tool to communicate, it can be the other way if it's not used appropriately.
That's important, I think. So, gangs, they use social media. So even the games that your kids play, the apps that we have, through channel communicate karte, right? They communicate with the kids, and they must start as a conversation or even pretend to be their age sometimes.
कई बारी ऐदा हुंदा है ना कि चल मैं तेरा यार दोस्त बनदा, they slowly build up their trust. We can चल ਆਪਾਂ मिलिए ते फिर gift ਦਵਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਨਾ, to build up their trust and confidence ਹਨਾ. ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ parents ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਮਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਤੋਂ ਖੋਲੋ. We're not saying that to parents ਹਨਾ. It's about understanding these are the risks and understanding how to use the technology in a responsible manner.
It's initially about having conversations.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ.
Sitting your kids down and having a conversation. So basically ਇਹ ਜੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ drug dealer ਆ, ਇਹ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਗਾਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਕਰਨ ਡਰੱਗਸ. ਇਹਨੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਘਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਇਹ ਵਾਇਆ ਐਪਸ, ਵਾਇਆ ਜੋ ਫੋਨਸ ਆ, ਵਾਇਆ ਜੋ ਆਈਪੈਡਸ, ਉਹਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਐਨੋਨਿਮਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਾਈਲ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਮਦਰਦ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਹਮਨੂਰ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਜਾਲ 'ਚ ਫਸਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ. Essentially, it is grooming because they pretend to be your friend. They pretend like, we can help you. As kids sometimes have financial problems, they have trouble at home, or they're going through a tough time, and they need someone to talk to, and they feel they can't talk to their parents. And I think this is where it all stems from. ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਘਰ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੋਏ, ਉਹਦਾ ਮਨ ਕੁਛ ਸਹੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਹਰ ਦੋਸਤੀ ਭਾਲਦਾ ਹੈ. ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਜੋ ਕਿ are offering something which you might be constraining on. That doesn't mean that you open the floodgates and open your bank and say, take what you want. But to the kids, that's not happening, right? But the fact is that it's essential for you to sit down and have that conversation with your child and to tell them, look, initially I think that people shouldn't be contacting you like that. And if they do, they should be telling you. But once again, it's something you have to have the conversation at home. If that's off limits or off bar, then you're sort of leaving yourself open for these guys, vultures really, to sort of come in and pick off. One thing I really want to know, John, is this. Why are drug users using kids? Why are they targeting kids? Why don't they just use their own aged males? Why especially is it kids that they want to involve?
It's a really interesting point, because they want to distance themselves from any of the drugs. They want to distance themselves from the point of arrest. And our young people, they're very loving and caring and trusting, and they are naturally naive, because we want our young people to be naive, they're children. But they want the drug dealers, the organised networks, they want to take advantage of that, and they'd much rather see the child move the drugs, take all the risk, while they sit at home and take all the reward, because the county lines piece around drug dealing is all about money. It's all about making money.
Right.
And if they lose that child, if that child gets arrested, they just go and get another child again. So that's why it's important to not just empower parents and carers, but also empower young people and also policing. As we evolve to turn around and say, not every child that we come across is going to be in a negative way, is going to be bad. And also to treat the child as a victim first, a child first, a victim first, and then investigate. And I think these are three big changes that we are seeing in over the last few years.
It's important that I love that.
Hanji.
So kids often, you do recognise that they're victims.
Yeah.
And it's not essentially, right, we're going to grab a kid and put them inside, that's it, you're done, career over, life
नहीं
over. ਏਦਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਹੈ।
Edda thodi hai, kyunki there's two terminology. Ek hai CSE, which is child sexual exploitation,
Yes.
child criminal exploitation. We recognize that they are victims, they need support. And following up on Duncan's point, jidho kende ke chal ek bachcha giraftar ho gaya, chal dusra party hai. What you have to understand is these criminals are very manipulative. They'll say ke chal main tere yaar dost banda, koi tenu samajhda nahi. And then a classic example, they'll start off them, chal, try a little bit of weed, है ना? Hafte baad thoja kar de, and then after about 4 or 5 weeks, chal, paise kar Punjab pond. What, you think that was a free lunch? No, chal, paise kar. I haven't got any money. Wait a minute, chal, now you have to pay that debt
something
off.
for us.
Kuch karna paina. And that could be anything. And with Duncan's point, if they get arrested and they find another kid, well, that young person's been arrested, have the drugs seized off them and everything else, but you got arrested, you lost my drugs, you owe me more money now.
Drug debt.
And you just fall, it's called a drug debt.
Yeah.
So ਇਹ ਜੋ gangs ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੋਸਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰਾ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਈਵਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਆਧਾਰੇ ਕਿ ਆ ਤੂੰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਲਿਆ, ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਸਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਪੈਸੇ ਮੋੜ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਹੁਣ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ. And that's how your kids get in there. There might be a few kids who are listening to this show who are in that sort of problem, and we're going to tell you how to get out of that problem. Yeah, and it's not a problem you can't get out of or can't be helped on, because these people here have helped hundreds, if not thousands, of kids get out of the situation. That's what they're there for. They're here to help you. We're not here to punish you, and we're not here to ruin your careers. We're here to make sure that you get out of this so that you can carry on with your career, your life, and not be in this web, which is essentially what it becomes, right? It becomes a trap which you can't get out of. And it's not just boys.
No.
Because you'd think, when you think of a drug dealer, you think of someone with a hoodie on, lurking about on street corners, approaching people. That's not how it works anymore, right?
No.
So the gangs are very sophisticated. It's also females they're targeting.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading, like recently, they said they tend to target females more because females are sort of seen as less suspicious.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, they're sort of stopped less, and the females are exploited sexually.
Yeah.
As well. So it's such a web, and we don't want anyone to get in there. But let's now carry on as to how they message and how they get on there. What apps or what social media is particularly you're seeing repetitive in this and particularly used by criminals? And what can parents do to like safeguard against that? Because the last thing we want to do is tell our kids, right, I want to snoop on your social media. I want to show me all your messages. I'm going to take your phone off. Like you said, it's a restrictive approach. Sometimes it's not the best one.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, so I'm going to ask for some parenting advice of you.
Sure, we'll try our best.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for it myself.
Yeah. So we are working on new legislation to protect young people. New child criminal exploitation, which will come in next year.
Okay.
Gives police more opportunities to pursue the person that's exploiting them, because children wouldn't be at risk of exploitation if they didn't have someone exploiting them. So that's part of our pledge within policing to do, and we need help from local authorities and other providers, and also to make sure that we are relentlessly pursuing the people that are dealing the drugs. So we're going after the right people instead of going after the children. So around the social media piece around that, and I agree with Nav saying we don't want to stop children using that as a form of
You can't
communication.
start snatching
Yeah.
phones from once
Exactly.
you give a kid a phone.
Exactly.
You give a 5-year-old a phone, he won't let it go.
I want
That's
to
right.
see it. I want to see your messaging. I think it's about having those conversations with those young people. So especially around Snapchat, Instagram, even WhatsApp. It's always good to understand your friendship group, know anybody outside of that friendship group that has their friends are adults. So why would you have 20-odd-year-old males
Yeah,
on
if you're a 14-year-old,
yeah,
why
the
do you have a
14-year-old.
22-year-old as your
Yeah,
friend, a
that's
20-year-old?
not related to you. And being aware of having your location services. So this is really important. We need to make sure that our young people are turning off their location services, because if we don't, for example, Snapchat, and Nav and I talked about this, it's when you can actually find out where your friends are
No way.
during a map, but also the friends of your friends can also see that.
No way.
So it's really important, turn your location services off, and then no one else can see where you are.
Yeah.
So it's all about having the conversations, like you said, with mums, dads, carers, etc., grandparents, bringing them on board, having an open conversation about it, and nothing should be hidden, especially when we're talking about drugs and exploitation. There seems to be, historically, a blocker about having those, it might be a bit nervous or uncomfortable conversations, but we really need to, as parents, push past that and have those conversations like the teachers would be at the school. In personal development sessions, PHSE, we want our parents to be doing the same thing.
No, but
Andy.
this doesn't happen in Asian areas, man. Asian kids don't get involved in this sort of stuff, do they? Surely it's like other communities and other kids, historically in the past. We've got clever kids who go to uni and become doctors and lawyers and, so professionals. But is this something the Asian community needs to be really worried about?
Sadly, Baji, it does happen in the Asian community as well. And a lot of the time, part of the messaging that these undesirables give is that they glorify the lifestyle. You come to work for me, it's quick, easy money. And it's sometimes glorified through social media in terms of, look at this, I'm driving a fancy car or
ਆਪਣੇ ਕਲਚਰ ਵਿੱਚ
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਾਣੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ
Yeah.
ਗੈਂਗਸਟਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀ ਵੈਗਨ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ
Yeah, exactly.
ਮੁੱਛਾਈਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਆਇਆ actually G wagon the ਆਧਾਰ ਕਿਰਾਏ ਤੇ ਲਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ in the music video but they make out this is my G wagon go buy a G wagon you know how much it costs $200 grand right
Yeah.
ਮੈਂ Ferrari ਚਲਾਉਣਾ ਆ ਚਲਾਉਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਗੈਂਗਸਟਰ ਮੈਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਮਾਰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਆ ਕਰਦਾ and often the word ਚਿੱਟਾ and
that's right.
nasha is used in our songs and our community. And the
That's
portrayal of this
Yeah.
of a criminal lifestyle has led to a lot of crimes being committed in the Asian community. We know we do a Disney Crime Watch every month.
That's right,
And
yeah.
every month, we got stories for the next 6 months already. I thought perhaps by sort of naming and shaming these people that the crimes will go down, but it seems like there's a competition who wants to be on the show. So it does happen. Asian community ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, and ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ. ਆਪਾਂ ਇੰਨੇ ਬਿਜ਼ੀ ਆ working every day ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ that we don't have time. ਆਪਾਂ ਦੌੜ ਚ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਕਿ ਕਰ ਕੀ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਮਸੀਂ ਮਰ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ parents evening ਤੇ ਜਾਈਦਾ. We don't have
That's
time.
true.
Right? Yeah, we just about manage to get time off to go to parents evening, right?
That's right.
And then we're in a rush to get back home. So it's important to sit down with your kids and have the chat and say, look, if there's any problem, you can come. You are the first point of contact. Yeah. But also tell them, look, you can tell your teachers, you can tell your doctors, you're not going to get into trouble. And we are here, the police are here, to help you get out of this situation. If you've been exploited and you've been blackmailed into doing anything, into doing something, you've got to realise that you're not the orchestrator of that. The orchestrator is someone else pulling the strings. Yeah. It's the puppeteer who's pulling the strings, not the puppet. So, but you might feel so trapped that you can't escape because there's so many strings on you. But there is a way out. And I think that's important to let people know.
Yeah, sometimes what it is such a taboo subject in particular communities, that especially upbringing, they don't like talking about it. And this is where it can enhance the fear in the child. So the first thing you have to have open conversation and don't go into automatically chal main tera class lona. Don't do that. Have an honest, open conversation with the child. Say, yaar, darna nahi, because the child's already going to be scared. Already scared hona. So tell them, don't be scared. I'm talking to you as a friend.
Ironically, मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਆਇਰਨੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਹਿਪੋਕ੍ਰਿਟਿਕਲ ਨੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਿੰਡਾਂ 'ਚ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੇਖੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਾਈਏ ਹੁਣੀ ਡੋਡੇ ਮਲਦੇ ਫੀਮ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਕਾਲੀ ਨਾਗਣੀ ਗਾਣਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆ ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਥਾਂ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਏਰੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੀਮ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ ਡੋਡੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਲੋਕ ਤਾਂ ਟਿਕਟੌਕ ਤੇ ਵੇਚਣ ਦੇ ਹੋ ਰਾਈਟ ਐਂਡ ਬਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ we haven't educated our community about this and yet it is rife in our culture from day one so we should be telling our kids about the evils of these and how there are people out there to exploit them and that once you go down this path, there is a way out, but if you go too far down the rabbit hole, it might be too late. And the only people who's going to upset her are you and your parents, who didn't envisage this life for you. So koi bhi maa pe aao, kade nahi sota ki mera bachcha criminal bane. Even criminals. I know criminals.
Yeah.
Or now their kids go to private school. Wow. And I say, why your kids go to private school? You're a criminal. And they go, we don't want them to be like us. We don't want them to be a criminal. My kid's going to be clear cut. Right? If you remember the film The Godfather, even Don Corleone didn't want Michael to be in the family business.
That's right.
He wanted him to become a senator.
That's right. Yeah.
And he sent him for a nice education, and you know he gets really upset in that scene where Michael says, "I'm going to the army," and you know, when Michael says, "Look, I've joined the family business," he gets really. He said, "I didn't have this plan for you." So criminal bani janda ke mera bachcha criminal ho gaya, and that's really essential. So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਵਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਕਸਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਣ ਦਿੰਦੇ crime ਦੇ but they see yours as expendable and I think it's very important what Duncan said something earlier is sort of alluded to it that it's just numbers for them. They're one person, a kid is replaceable. You said it as well with another kid, right? They don't see them as human beings or part of a family. They're just seen as numbers.
They're seen as a commodity which can be wasted. And interesting what you said there around when we reach out to our parents, we want to say, you know, parents are the first teachers and teachers are the second parents. So when your child's at school, they will be learning about these things. They will be having conversations about drugs. They will be having conversations about other subjects that we may feel is a bit taboo to discuss with them. But maybe in a way, have that conversation with your child and get them to teach you about it. What do they know about it? What have they learned at school in their PHSE sessions and things like that? Because they can educate us just as much as we can educate them. And we have learnt so much from young people about how they've been recruited, how they are groomed, how do they feel when they're coming into the police station, when they've got the drug debt, but they're not the ones that have been pulling the strings. You know, that's really important that we have the conversations with young people, but listen to them as well.
This is, now if we don't deal with this now, I can see it becoming a big issue. I can see it becoming a big issue. We often see the adverse effects of drugs when we walk down South or Broadway, Hounslow Town Centre, Slough. That's just in London. But if you go down Soho Road in Birmingham, Slavic, Handsworth, we can see all of these at Spark Hill. We see all these areas, Manchester. We see, you know, we're going to Cheatham Way, and you see the effects of drugs and how it ruins people and makes them dependent, and makes them addictive. You know, so we know it's an evil and a social evil, and it's illegal. The last thing we want to do is get our kids messed up in that. So we're going to go to a break now, and after the break, we're going to discuss other agencies who can help you out with this. If your kid's involved or you have a suspicion, what to look out for, the signs, the telltale signs as to what to look out for, and also how we can all come together to get ourselves out of these situations, and as a wider community, help and prevent and protect ourselves against these drug dealers who are targeting our children as mules effectively. So ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ break ਤੋਂ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, welcome back to the show. ਆਪਾਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਹੰਸਲੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ। ਆਪਾਂ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਆ and ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ information ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਆ about ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਚਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਡਰੱਗਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਬਚ ਸਕਣ ਜੋ ਕਿ Navdeep and Duncan are telling us about that it's becoming increasing that Asian kids are being involved, especially in Asian areas, in the supply of drugs. They're being targeted, being used. ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਡਰੱਗਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਡਰੱਗਾਂ ਦਾ ਵਪਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਐਂਡ very innocently, ਬੜੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੱਦਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੇ it's groomed. I think we can say they're groomed.
Definitely.
They're groomed into it, and you know they use their lives are ruined as a result of it. The life of the person who takes the drugs, the life of the person who's selling the drugs. Yeah, the only person who attempts to win is a drug dealer, and he doesn't care about the lives of anyone. So it's very important that we catch these signs early on, if we do, and subtly, you know, there's signs that you can look for. So, but it's a balance. How do we do this without barging into our kids' bedroom saying, right, I'm going to turn your room upside down, look at all your devices and check everything that you do? In today's day and age, I mean, in 30 years ago, that would, you know, probably would have been possible if our dad had said that. Yep, there you go. You know, but now, as time changes, so does societal, you know, values and perceptions. So we're going to get some advice. I'm going to give you some top quality advice. ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ advice ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ ਅੱਖ ਰੱਖੋ to make sure ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਹੈ and what are the signs to pick up on. So Navdeep and Duncan, I'm going to defer to your experience to let us know what are the signs that people should look out for that their kids might be involved in this or they might be in some sort of trouble.
ठीक है जी. First, start off. First and foremost, parents are always familiar with the child's behaviour, their personality, and their routines. And when you start observing that the child is more secluded and not engaging as much, they're locking themselves in their room so much, it's the sort of things that you think, okay, they might be going through adolescence and everything else, but at the same time, that's when you think, hold on, just need to sort of, you know, monitor this at the back of our minds.
So sudden changes in behaviour.
Definitely.
So yeah, behaviour, appearance, and we know our children well, but also having those conversations with other family members, friends of your child, if they've got new possessions. So we're talking about the physical side of it at the moment that Nav spoke about. So, you know, are they becoming unkept? Have they got other unexplained items? So have they got new sets of trainers?
Right.
Are they becoming secretive within in their bedroom or their own personal environment? Because we understand that privacy is very important to a young person and we should give them privacy. But if they don't want to let you in, or there's certain parts of the room they don't want you to look at, or if they've got trainers or clothing which you haven't bought and haven't got from family, friends, for birthdays, all those sorts of things, we've got to understand that up until 16 a child can't work. So, you know, in this country, where does the money come from? Where are the gifts coming from? Not just money to buy it, but someone could have given them something. Oh, he's asked me to hold it. Well, what other things are they asking you to hold? So, and then having those conversations. And I think changing friendships as well, that's another external factor. Lifestyle, changing friendships and circumstances, starts hanging around with other children, phone calls from other children that aren't their normal friendship group.
That you don't recognise.
That you don't recognise, and having those conversations with them is really important as well. So they're kind of the outwardly signs and symptoms that Nav and I would suggest that, and also, I mean, lots of children go on their phones for long periods of time. So we're not suggesting that would be accountable for it, but an extra mobile phone. Or a different mobile phone that's been given to them to hold or for someone to use, and you don't recognise that mobile phone, where did they get it from?
That's really important.
So there are some things outwardly, and then we can go on to the kind of the inwardly approach around social media and other things like that.
So बहुत अच्छे उन्होंने points दसे हैं. जेकर थोड़े बच्चे को कोई गिफ्ट आ कोई महंगी चीज़ आई हैं और थानू पता कि मैं पैसे नहीं देते ले तो फिर कितों आए पैसे कितों आए ये थोड़े बच्चे को एक्स्ट्रा फोन है कौन 2 फोन की ज़रूरत है. You know, मैं सारी उम्र मेरे को एक कोई फोन है एक कोई नंबर है from uni. I've still got my same uni number, the 07956 one. It used to be 0956. So T-Mobile, So I've still got one-to-one is we call Mercury one-to-one. So I've still got the same one. Why does a kid need 2 phones for? Also expensive items. Also, the only friend circle suddenly badal there. Je sare purane friend ko no aati hunde ta name friend hai je tusi pehchandde nahi. It's really important if you're changing friends and you might think, hold on. Also, if they start developing older friends,
Definitely.
So what are older kids doing hanging around your kids and becoming friendly for anyway? That's really important as well. So ਜੇ ਬੱਚਾ ਸੀਕ੍ਰੀਟਿਵ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਰੂਮ ਦੀ ਤਲਾਸ਼ੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਰੂਮ ਅਪਸਾਈਡ ਡਾਊਨ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ ਬਟ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ this is really like important stuff that perhaps it doesn't like you don't as a parent you don't think about this stuff you don't think about you think you can trust your child and you should do but and likewise like to the kids watching that if anyone's trying to enter anyone over age is trying to enter your friend circle and you don't know and then you might be a bit wary of that if someone is offering you something for free or saying here hold on to this for a little while you should be alarm bells should be ringing you should be telling someone look why is someone offering you something for free you know they don't offer it to any of us during the day and we haven't been offered anything so there's always something behind it might be something untowards behind it and if someone says right here's a phone that only I'm going to call you on secretive your mum and dad shouldn't know about it that should really ring alarm bells and you should be really telling your mum and dad or your teacher look and their teachers are trained for this sort of stuff
that's right
so they're the basic signs initially ਇਹ sign are basic ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕੋਈ outside influence ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ what are the more sort of inner factors
online we talk about various different apps and one particular that we've discussed is Telegram which is a Russian-owned app. It's a secure social media app where it cannot really be infiltrated either by the police or by, say, parents trying to log in. And that's a form of communication between people. That's predominantly used by adults. And I know we're going to have an icon on the video.
Yeah, of course.
But if when we talk about Telegram, it's if your child has Telegram as an app, that is a sign.
That's an alarm bell.
That is an alarm bell, definitely.
So ਜਿਹੜੀ Telegram ਦੀ ਐਪ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਕਸਰ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਰਸ਼ੀਆ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਕੋਲ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਐਪ ਹੋਵੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਫੋਨ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੀ ਘੰਟੀ ਵੱਜ ਜਾਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ there's no reason why a kid should be having Telegram on their app also a lot kids use Snapchat a lot they use Snapchat a lot so you know adults less but kids use Snapchat a lot because there are disappearing messages and all of that. So Snapchat is another one that's frequently used. And like Duncan said, you know, you want to switch off the location services.
Yes.
So you don't have to switch it off for your phone. You can switch it off for that specific app. So to location services, kids out there, you want to switch off your location services for Snapchat because you don't want people knowing where you are. So it's quite simple. And you don't want to give anyone your location away. And just remember, there's friends or friends can see your location as well. So there's people monitoring and tracking where you are. You don't want people to know where you live, but people who shouldn't know where you live. So it's really important that is as well. And in relation to, you know, this is what we need to do. I mean, there are other telltale signs as well, like change of behaviour, Telegram on there, spending a lot of time online, you know, secluded. Perhaps not having any friends. Perhaps just staying online a lot and chatting.
There's that as well, but also something which is more sort of obvious and simpler is the side effects of drugs because, as we know, children are quite naive and they might be in contact with someone who says, try a little bit of cannabis, try a little bit of this. Cannabis has a very distinct smell and sometimes that can be a giveaway, or if they've tried something like a class A or class B drug such as the gummies and what have you, it's going to have an impact on them as well, and that's something that parents do need to be alert of in terms of, you know, why are they behaving in such a strange way, and worst case scenario, could it turn into a medical emergency as well?
I mean, I know paranoia is a big side effect of cannabis, right? And, you know, kids on drugs have a heightened sense of awareness and also irritable behaviour, mood swings. So I think you really need to watch out for this sort of stuff in relation to that, whether your kid might be on drugs. But there is help out there. and this is what we're going to shift on to. So first of all, Duncan, surely, like, you know this is a problem. Navdeep knows it's a problem. Now I know it's a problem. Now our viewers know that it's a problem.
Yeah.
But does the government know it's a problem? And if so, what are they doing about it?
Yeah, so really good question. So the government set out a harm to hope strategy, which was a 10-year strategy. And it was set out because they understood from communities, from policing, the problem around drugs. And the fact that they weren't going to solve the drugs, remove the drugs from the scene, but what they had to do is educate and try and pursue those that deal drugs. So they set out 3 key aims. The first aim was to prevent a generation, so our children moving to drugs, which is successful at the moment with less and less children moving on to heroin and cocaine, crack cocaine. And then the second challenge was to try and prevent move a generation away from drugs, so that starts the violence and exploitation. So if we don't have the drug dealing, we wouldn't have the associated violence and exploitation, knife crime, youth violence, because the drug is the root of all evil in this, and that's what we have to remember. So it's not our children, it's the drug itself and the people making money out of the drugs. So if we flip it, the people responsible really are the people taking the drugs, because they are fueling the exploitation and the violence. So the third challenge that the government set out was for policing to pursue those that deal drugs and pursue those that exploit our children.
Yeah.
So we use modern slavery legislation and the movement and the trafficking of a child from one place to another, and also with the new legislation I talked about earlier for child criminal exploitation as well, to mirror that of child sexual exploitation. And we have to then switch from thinking that the child is behind the drug to the user being behind the drug and wanting that drug, and that child being a mule, in that the puppet, as you spoke about, a go-between. So we need to treat our children as victims, and we need to go after the person that's exploiting them. And that's our greatest challenge, but not just for policing, that's for society as well.
For society. So, बड़ी important है जी, गवर्नमेंट कहती कि जे थोड़ा बच्चा कम्मां च फसिया तो रिकग्नाइज करते हैं कि जी ज़रूरी नहीं कि ਉਹ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕੋਈ ਇਸ਼ਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਚਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ। ਸੋ ਦ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਟੂ ਗੋ ਆਫਟਰ ਦ ਪੀਪਲ ਹੂ ਆਰ ਪੁਲਿੰਗ ਦ ਸਟ੍ਰਿੰਗਸ। ਹੁਣ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਣਾ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋਕ ਡਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਇਤ ਕਰਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਪਾਵਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ। ਦੈਟਸ ਨੋਟ ਇਟ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ। ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ, ਯੂ ਆਰ ਨੋਟ ਡੋਬਿੰਗ ਯੂਰ ਕਿਡ ਇਨ ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਨੋਟ ਸੈਂਡਿੰਗ them to prison. What you're doing is saving them. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗਾਹਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਚਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਮੁਸੀਬਤ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਚਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਕਿਉਂ ਇਹ ਗੈਂਗਸ ਇੰਨੇ ਸੋਫਿਸਟੀਕੇਟਡ ਆ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੜਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। These gangs, they make kids fight each other. I've just read a report this week, that came out, and it said that the rise on child violence is rising. So these gangs are obviously, realizing that children can be exploited, getting kids to do all their dirty work for them, and sitting back and making money.
Yeah.
And when a kid's life is ruined, that's fine. They go out and find another one. That's the way they see it, as a conveyor belt. But the fact is, if we already ground our kids and tell them, look, we need to stay away from this. This is what you can do if you're stuck in a situation or someone approaches you like this, then we're actually saving their lives. And I think we have to help the government here. The government is doing stuff. Maybe it's not doing as much as you'd like them to do. But this is not something that solely the government can do. Ultimately, it's not the government's kids. It's your kids. Yeah, the government can only help you. It's up to you to teach your kids, let them know what the signs are, let them know, look, we're here for you. Not in an aggressive way, but in a nice, passive sort of way where they understand, and a caring way. Because that's essentially what's happening. You're being aggressive with your kids, your kid is going elsewhere, and that drug dealer is actually being compassionate to your kids and pretending to be a friend. He's pretending to be the parent that the kid wants. Yeah. And whereas actually you're showing signs of the aggressive drug dealer criminal, like, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to do this, and don't you dare do this. And the kid's like, well, hold on. So the drug dealer sees that
and they target kids.
Yeah.
And I read something before that they try and target people from broken families as well, single parents, and they do that because they see them as an easy target.
That's right, because they're vulnerable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we've seen a new terminology used as affluent neglect, where mum and dad work very hard out of the family home 12 hours a day, and that child comes home from school kind of left alone, and they're almost seeking that familial engagement, that family, that new family, and where do they find that family? So not just from single parent families or from an estate, it's anywhere. So any child could be susceptible to being exploited, and also because it's so subtle, the child doesn't even know
what's going on,
that's happening. So they're not going to think about telling mum and dad or carer because they don't see it themselves. They're not aware.
So they're not even been told about it.
The best thing about young people is the fact that they talk. So if we're telling a few young people about the signs and everything else, they will go and see their friends. So as you said earlier, when you're talking to young people on this video, if you see your friendship groups and they're going through the same thing about unexplained wealth, or they look tired all the time, or they've not been at school and unexplained things, then they've got a duty to protect their own friends as well. So keep on reporting it. But there's lots of agencies out there, lots of commission services in your local authority, and we can provide lots of details around that. Wherever you live, there will be a commission service that is there. It's just that we, as parents, we might not know about it.
Give us examples of how people are caught up in these sort of webs. I mean, we talk about it, but you must come across some real life examples yourselves as well. I mean, especially nationally. So without going into specifics as such, give us some examples of what this does to lives and county lines, how it's destroying families.
Yeah, we've come across a couple. I know Nav may well speak about it as well, but sometimes the unfortunate thing in policing is you come across it when it's almost too late, when that child's sitting in a cell. And the last thing they want to do is actually say to a police officer interview, oh, by the way, this has happened to me. I've been told to take drugs from here to here, etc. When they are actually they've been arrested for the possession of these drugs. So what we find is when we speak to support services, charities, etc., they talk about how children don't even realise it's happening to them until it's too late. And then they can't have those conversations because they're seen as a bad person because they've taken the drugs, held the drugs, held a knife for somebody else. So then they feel that they can't then have those conversations with their parents. So it's about us educating each other, but getting in there early with youngsters to know about, to understand.
Yeah, they don't own the drugs. They didn't make the drugs.
No.
They're not going to keep the drugs. No. They're just being used as a mule.
That's
and
right.
They're not going to profit from the great sale of the drugs, right? So it's just they're being used because they're in that situation.
It's a
and
one.
They've got to realise, look, you can get out of that.
Yeah, it's a one-way transactional deal. The dealers will reap the benefits, and any sort of consequences, it'll be down to the young person when it comes to the possession or the possession with intent to supply, and how they get lured in, whether it's through Snapchat and then obviously entrapping them by building up that trust and confidence, and then before you know it, they're trapped because they obviously start off, here's a few nice gifts and everything else, and saying, right, you owe me A, B, C, D, E, and it's either, right, go do some deliveries, etc., or it's going to be criminal exploitation or indeed sexual exploitation, whereby they say, right, go to this address this weekend, and before you know it, they open up the door and they are used sexually, exploited amongst 5 or 6 different individuals.
I think that's every parent's nightmare. Any last message you want to give to the parents and the kids out there?
From my perspective, folks, is please, young people, don't be scared. And, feel free to have that open and honest conversation, and parents, have that trust and confidence for your children as well. Because if you are in trouble, we want to deal with it early on rather than it escalating out of control. And to steal one of your phrases, you want to sort of see the doctor when it's an itch rather than when you have to sort of cut off the arm.
Off, When you cut your arm off,
Yeah, I think it's really good points that we've made there. And I think my takeaway from this as a parent of 2 children is You've got to have those honest conversations and ask your child to talk to you about it. Say, I've heard about this. What do you know? What have you learnt in school? And let that child be the teacher to you first. And then you can have those conversations back and just have that flow going, and also speak to other parents, because you're not going to be the only one who says, oh, I didn't know anything about that. There'll be other parents in the same boat, because naturally, why would we suspect these things? We love our children dearly and treat them with that kind of respect as well, that they will know a lot more than probably we do, and get them to have those two-way conversations with you.
And to the parents, look, I think for our community, a lot more better parenting is required on a level of mates and trust. Yeah, we're not saying, let kids do what they want, definitely not. But if we don't spend that time on them, or some time with them, then there's people out there who will, and they will spend that time, and they will exploit your child, and for their own purposes. And that's not anything you want. You're not working all the hours in the world for your kid to end up in a prison cell. I know I'm not, and I know you're not either. So it's very important that we recognise the signs, take the advice on, just keep a general eye out. And, this is how the gangs break up, because they can't find the people then to do their dirty work for them. That's important. This is how to dismantle the gangs. If they realise that, hold on, there's plenty of kids out there to exploit, they're not going to stop, they're only going to increase. So we have to recognise that there's an issue, and we have to try and stamp it out before it expands, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah. And the other thing is that keep an eye on what the government brings out and what the police gives out. Keep an eye on their news channels. You can, throughout the whole show, we've been running a ticker with all the websites and the phone numbers you can call for help. Reach out and take an interest, because only if you take an interest will governments respond. They're only worried about elections, and so we have to. That's the primary focus of them. You have a vote, so you have to make yourself heard. For government, if you haven't got a voice, the government's not going to hear you. So everyone is here to help you. The police are not your enemies, they're here to help you. Yeah, there's no blame game here. They won't blame the parents won't blame them, and we won't blame the kid. Yeah, and people won't blame the government. That all the blame game does, it just makes the criminals bolder, because no one's actually sitting there blaming the criminals. They're having lavish lifestyles and selling these lifestyles to your kids, and via the social media, and selling a quick rich scheme. And we all know how get rich quick schemes, end. They usually end up with someone going inside. So there's no such thing as a free lunch, as they say.
No.
So be careful, just be a bit more aware and move with the times. And remember, we're all in it together, and the common goal is to secure the kids and to make sure everyone's fighting towards a common goal. And people who are fighting towards working towards your common goal, they can never be your enemies. They can never be your enemies. They're there to help you. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the time you've given us today.
Anytime.
Thank you for the information. Love to have you on the show again.
Yeah.
And look forward to talking to you again. Please, like you do, and I'm going to keep us up to date with new information and new stuff. And it's great to talk to, get your message out there to the community, to the wider community. In the meantime, I say stay safe. And from us, everyone, have a good evening. Sat Sri Akal. Bye.
GLS Solicitors is led by award-winning solicitor Harjap Singh Bhangal. GLS Solicitors, when the experts need an expert.